Now let's bring in Democratic member of both the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees, Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada. Senator, thank you so much. We're so glad you're here to be part of this conversation. You were part of a bipartisan group of senators who met with Maria Corina Machado yesterday, the opposition leader from Venezuela, in Washington, presented President Trump her Nobel Peace Prize. Setting that aside, though, she believes she is the democratically elected leader of Venezuela, but it's so far anyway, the Trump administration seems not inclined to help her achieve what she believes she rightly deserves. Talk to us about how you see this dynamic playing out.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. And I was very honored to be part of a small group of senators. We met with Ms. Machado for about an hour yesterday. She spoke with us about her passion for Venezuela, for her home, for her people. She is quite an inspiring person. She talked about her journey, particularly her journey as she fled Venezuela, almost died in that process, and of course wanting to go back. The opposition was elected in 2024. And I want to be clear, what President Trump did was regime change for oil. He left the current regime in place. There is no significant difference, except perhaps those left in place feel more bullied or maybe more willing to make a deal. But it's clearly about the oil. Trump shirked his constitutional responsibility by notifying Congress before the action to arrest Maduro and his wife, but he had plenty of time to call the oil companies before and after. So clearly about the oil and not that's the regime change. And so he needs to quit looking at the bank accounts of himself and his buddies and look at the bank accounts of the American people at the kitchen table, where you've been to the I go to the grocery store, my husband and I, every week. Grocery prices aren't getting any lower. It's cold outside. It's the middle of winter. Energy prices not going down. Healthcare ripped away from millions of Americans. He needs to stop being president of Venezuela, start being president for the United States.
I applaud your ability to shoehorn it back to an affordability discussion topic. Very well done. But I want to go back to actually Venezuela.
Yes, please.
Two questions. Because there is one real substantial difference. You're right. Same government, same basic oppressive regime. The difference is the oil. And we now know that the sale of this Venezuela oil is going into some account in Qatar. I don't understand how that works theoretically or if there's any oversight into it. So I'm kind of curious if you have any insight or any desire to get oversight, and if so, how. Secondly, is there was a vote in your chamber on War Powers resolution. Initially, there was enough Republicans to pass it. And then, two, Josh Hawley and Todd Young flipped back with some assurances from Marco Rubio to peers. What's your message to Josh Hawley and Todd Young?
Oh, well, I'm not sure which question I should take first, but hearing that the money went to Qatar, that seems a little suspect. Understanding that the United States Congress has the oversight on all of this, an executive branch, and this president eliminates inspector generals, fires everyone when he can, disregards every law and statute, and believes that the Constitution is just an inconvenience in most cases. And there's so many things we could talk about with that. So we do need to find out what the heck is going on with the money, where it goes, who's benefiting. As you saw, he hasn't come. He's come to Congress, but we've been lied to. We haven't been told the truth about what happened. And we don't even know what's being planned in the future because he doesn't trust us, only the oil companies. And to Josh Hawley and others who flipped their votes, history will not judge them well. And so they tried to save themselves from some retribution from Donald Trump or the MAGA base instead of standing up for this country, for the rule of law, for the responsibilities that we have. Because the deeper Trump gets in here, the more he tries to claim he's the king of the world, whether it's Venezuela or Greenland or God knows where, or certainly here. All you have to do is give him some shiny object. I'm surprised he doesn't put a throne in the Oval Office. You give him a shiny object, and that's all it takes and to persuade him to help you. And so Vladimir Putin, laughing all the way. China, North Korea, even Iran in its weakened state. They know the President of the United States of America is easily played, no longer respected, and he's making us more vulnerable every day.
Senator, you introduced an amendment this week calling for the reversal of Health Secretary RFK Jr.'s childhood vaccine policies. Will you explain to us what it is?
You know, we are in the minority, and I can tell you we don't have as many tools and legislative levers that we can pull against someone who I believe is truly probably the most unqualified Secretary of Health and Human Services that we've ever had. And so, in this case, children, lives are on the line. And when you pull back the vaccination schedule, when you don't protect our children, we know if you get childhood diseases, that years later, you get chicken pox, you have shingles, you get mumps, you can suffer from infertility. I'm not a physician, but I know that there are direct links between getting childhood diseases and things that happen when you're an adult or repercussions throughout your life. We have protected our children, and it's over half a century of data to support this. So what have we done? We've reduced the salary of the secretary down to $1. Now, in and of itself, that's probably not so much. But what we're trying to do is restrict the funding that will allow him to implement this misguided policy that will hurt our parents and children. And I want to add this for people who don't understand. If it's not recommended, then perhaps your insurance company doesn't pay. So you go to the pediatrician, you say, but I want my child to have vaccination X, whatever that is. They say, well, you can pay out of pocket. Well, maybe you can afford it, maybe you can't. You set up a two-tier system. Now, if it's not recommended, maybe the drug companies make less. So now you create an artificial shortage, again, raising the price. So you're really creating a have and have not for our children of this country, which makes us less safe. It's going to cost children's lives. It's going to cost their health. And one thing we know we learned during COVID is disease is an equal opportunity predator, and germs travel around this world in a skinny minute. And so if you think that we're not vulnerable and we put our children in this position, shame on the secretary, and we're going to try to do everything we can to restrict his access to hurt children.
All right. Important conversation with Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada. Senator, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.